Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Good morning to you and happy new month. Well, it's a new month. I hope we're all excited to be part of this blessing. Okay, I want to see some confirmation in the chat section. So if you can see my screen, you can hear my voice clearly. Kindly type in hi in the comment section so that we can get the session started. So I really want to see some response. Oh, okay, Innocent Babe is in the house. Good morning to you. Happy new month. Uh, Prince Cool. Okay, hi. Good morning. Thank you. Starek. Good morning. Hey, Carrie. Good morning to you. Happy new month as well. Oh, great. Thank you, Carrie, for that confirmation. So I want to take this as a confirmation that we can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly. Okay, Steamroller, good morning. Happy new month to you. Oh, I see. All right. I hope you can hear me, Steamroller, and you can see my screen. Well, I will try to do something on the GBPUSD. So let's get this session started. So I welcome you all to another promising session on Extreme Speed Live, hosted by my humble self, Sheriff Daramola. And as usual, I shall be taking you through a trading journey where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us during the New York session today. Well, and if you have any pair you want us to look at, feel free to drop it in the comment section and I will inculcate it to my plans for today. And today being the first trading day of the week, of the month rather, we are going to be looking at the pairs we have been monitoring since Monday. So we're going to look at how well those pairs are doing so far. And if there is any updates or any advices, I will be dishing them out during the course of the session. So I would advise that you stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on any of this information that I will be dishing out during the course of the session. So once again, welcome, happy new month, and let's dive into the chat. I can see 9573. Good morning, happy new month to you. 8854. Good morning. All right, so let's kickstart the session by diving in and see what is happening on the US oil. So on the US oil, what was our expectation as at yesterday? Where were we as at yesterday and what were we looking at? Well, let's scale up to the daily time frame and let's see what is happening from an holistic standpoint, after which we are going to be scaling down to the lower time frame to see how um, we are going to be taking advantage of any potential opportunity on the US oil for this week. Well, on the daily time frame, it's obvious price action has been on a bullish momentum, and as you can see here, we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bullish trend line which has been guiding price action in the last 2 years. Now if we zoom into what is happening since the month of May, I was able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bearish trend line, which is also a significant structure that we will be using to guide our action on this pair. So we can see after connecting the series of higher lows here, lower highs rather, we saw our price has consistently respected that bearish trend line. However, during the month of October, during the early days of the month of October, we witnessed the significant breakout of the structure, which also lines up with the key level we identified on the $86 mark. And since then, price climbed up into the $94 level, and since then, price came back to do a retest to structure, after which we saw buying pressure right below the $86 level before we witness the significant breakout of the $86 MAC during the later part of last week's trading session. So now if we zoom into the current structure, what I mean by the current structure is the previous impulse leg till this moment, that is the scenario here. We saw this impulsive move that broke out of that key level at the bearish trend line, and then we saw this retracement phase back into our golden zone area, followed by buying pressure right below the $86 mark, leading into the breakout of the structure. So at the beginning of the week, what we were looking forward to was to understand how participants in this market is relating to the current structure around here to determine if we are going to be going to the upside. So at the beginning of the week, we said we are going to be waiting for price to either come back and do a retest of the key level here, which also lines up with the bullish trend line we identified earlier. And this is going to be followed with buying pressure on lower time frame right around the $86 mark before we want to be thinking of a bullish momentum. So with this information we've gathered here on the daily time frame, the next thing we want to be doing here is to look at the current structure here around the key level to decipher what is really going on in the market and how participants are actually relating to the current structure here, and if we are going to be seeing buying pressure from that level to take advantage of a bullish momentum. So in that regard, we scale down to a much lower time frame like the 2 hours time frame, for instance, to be able to see things more clearly on what is going on at that juncture in the market. So right now we are on the 2 hours time frame, and what did we observe here, and what was our expectation as at yesterday? So as at yesterday, we were around this point yesterday where we were around here yesterday, and we saw buying pressure since the beginning of the week. Price started the week at around the $88 mark here, and since the beginning of the week, price has continued to find lower lows and lower highs. And what I said here yesterday is that we want to remain patient to see how the participant in this market is going to be relating to the $86 mark. In fact, what we want to be seeing around this area is a reversal pattern that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. And if we take into consideration the previous impulse leg, which I was able to identify and show you yesterday, so we had this impulsive move that moved to the upside, and I said this bearish momentum we see here is likely going to be a retracement of that impulse leg. And what we said is that we want to see how far this retracement phase is going to go. And what we did to guide our action is to identify the buy zone area, project an area where we want to be looking forward to buy an opportunity. So when we brought our Fibonacci retracement tool out, we were able to look at somewhere within the 50 and the 78.6% of that previous impulse leg, which we identified as our buy zone. And this is exactly what happened during the course of the New York session yesterday. We saw our price came into this demand zone, that is the buy zone here. We saw buying pressure from this level, and the key level area appeared to be the structure we're going to be looking forward to buying right above that structure. So on the 1 hour time frame, we saw our price broke out of the $86 level to signify that the buyers appear to be coming in at this point in the market. So we saw multiple rejection of that buy zone area right below the $86 level, with during the course of the New York session yesterday to signal that we might be getting ready for the second wave of the bullish momentum that started a couple of weeks ago. So this is exactly what happened right now. And for those who took advantage of this move, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of this move. And right now we are running with about how many pips in profit right now? We're running with over 120 pips in profit. So I think 140 pips in profit at this point. So the next thing we want to be doing here is to secure our position by moving our stop loss accordingly to either protect our position, lock in some profit, or we could move it to break even to protect our position against any sudden pullback that is likely going to be happening, considering the bearish momentum we've been witnessing since the beginning of the week. So now with the current structure we have here, what is our expectation for today? What are we going to be doing during the New York session today? And for those who missed out on this opportunity here, let's see if the market is going to be presenting us with a second chance to take advantage of this potential bullish momentum that we have identified here. So looking at the current structure we have here, I was able to identify a structure. Okay, we identified a structure at its $7 mark. Remember, at the beginning of the week, price was caught within a consolidation phase right within the $88 level and the $87 area. Though we had a breakout of that structure, then price came back into the $87 level, came back into the $88 level. So you can see how this area has been a consolidation phase since the beginning of the week before we witnessed the breakdown of the structure. So right now price has climbed right back above the $87 mark. So currently price is within the channel that price was caught within during the early hours of this week. So we want to see how the participants in this market is going to be related to this channel. So most importantly, what I want to be seeing here to be joining the bullish momentum is a significant breakout of the $88 mark. So if I cite a breakout of the $88 level, well, we don't want to get too excited at the sight of such a signal. We want to remain patient and wait for price action to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of structure followed by buying pressure on lower time frame. Then we could actually join the potential trend continuation to the upside. So this is what I will be looking forward to. And like I said, move your stop loss to lock in some profit for those who took advantage of this move yesterday. So let's see how the market is going to play out in the next 24 hours. Move your stop loss accordingly. And if we have a breakout of the $88 mark and a retest of structure happens, be getting ready to add more position to our existing trade. And if you are not in this trade yet, this is more or less an opportunity to join the rally to the upside. Well, I actually shared something on my TradingView platform where I said if a breakout of the $87 level happens and a retest of structure happens here with buying pressure, we could actually add one more position to our trade. So this is exactly, we can actually use this too as a leverage, but to be on the safer side, I will be suggesting that we wait for a significant breakout of the $88 mark since we're already in this trade already and we don't want to be caught up in any unnecessary position at this point. So let's wait for a significant breakout of the $88 level, retest of structure, then we could join the trend continuation to the upside. So that is my view on the US oil for today. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the chat to see if there are any inquiries. And if there are none, we'll just move on to the next pair. So let's see what's happening in the comment section. All right, we have Omar San, good morning. Good morning to you. We have 549, good morning. And then we have Moriasmin. Okay, how are you doing today, Moriasmin? And then we have 2018, good morning to you. 960, good morning as well. All right, so in the absence of no question, I guess we'll just move on to the next pair. And what do we have on the next pair? So the next pair we are going to be looking at is definitely going to be the US tech as usual. And what is the scenario we are having on the US tech at this point in time? Well, looking at the structure we have here on the US tech, and since the beginning of the week, we saw our price was caught within a channel between the $11,550 level and the $11,475 level before we witnessed this breakdown, retest of structure to push price right back into that bullish trend line we were able to identify on the higher time frame. I will be showing you that in a moment, but let's quickly run through what our expectations were on this lower time frame. And we saw this scenario where we said we want to look out for buying pressure if price comes within the $11,250 level to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. But this did not happen as price has come right back within the channel that it was caught in during the early days of this week. So we want to be very mindful at this point, as we can see that the $11,550 level has been a selling pressure since the beginning of the week. So we want to see how price is going to relate with this current structure on before making a significant decision on this one. So we could either have price coming within the structure to incite selling pressure. We'll see selling pressure again from that area, evolving into a reversal pattern that might likely send price crashing right back into the $11,250 level, after which we look out for buying opportunity to join the trend continuation to the upside. So this is one scenario we want to be looking forward to on the US tech for today. And the other scenario is a possible breakout of the $11,550 level, taking out all the sell position at the 11,550 to give us a bullish signal. And remember, whenever we have a bullish signal like this, we don't want to get too excited, but remain patient and wait for price action to give us further confirmation, which is likely going to come in the form of a retest of structure. So the retest could either come in the form of a retest of the 11,550 or come within the $11,475 area. But the most important thing we want to be looking forward to is reversal patterns on lower time frame, that is buying pressure before we would want to join the trend continuation to the upside. So these are the two scenarios I want to be looking forward to on the US tech for today. But before we go to the next pair, let's quickly run through what is going on the daily time frame. Let's have the holistic view of what is happening, and let's see if the current structure we have in the market lines up with the idea we just dish out here. So, and this is also for those who missed out on our morning session yesterday. So let's see what is happening on the daily time frame. And excuse me. So on the daily time frame, well, it's obvious that we have a long-term bearish momentum here, and you can see we had this bearish trend line connecting the series of higher lows, lower highs here, to emphasize the strength of the sellers from a long-term perspective. However, the important level here is the $11,000 mark, which you can see here has been holding buying pressure since the month of June. And we can see that every time sellers try to push price below the $11,000 mark, it has been met with strong resistance from the buyers, hereby emphasizing that the US tech is more or less cheap enough to buy for participants in this market. So the participants in this market are actually seeing the US tech as something cheap enough to buy at around the $11,000 mark. And one thing I said at the beginning of the week is that as long as price continue to trade right above the significant demand zone we identified on the daily time frame, we want to continue to look forward for buying pressure on the US tech. The only way we want to be selling the US tech is if we see price break right down below that bearish trend line, break below the bullish this demand zone here to give us a bearish signal, then a retest to structure can give us a confirmation to join the decline. And if this is not happening, we continue to look forward to buying pressure around this area. So at this point in time, what we need to do next is to see what is really going on in this market. We can see we had this engulfing candle at the end of last week trading session. So the next thing we want to be saying is this engulfing candle going to incite a retracement phase back into a structure around here before the trend continuation happens, or are we going to be having a trend continuation pattern right around this area to push price to the upside? So these are the things we were looking forward to at the beginning of the week, and because of this, we scaled down to our lower time frame. Hold on a second, let me scale down to a much lower time frame. Let's go to the 2 hours time frame, for instance. So we have this, and on the 2 hours time frame we were able to identify this bullish trend line after connecting the series of higher lows here. As you can see, this trend line has been holding buying pressure to the upside, though we had a breakdown, though price came back up. We had a little retest of structure, which I actually missed yesterday, and price has continued to trade on the upside. So on this one right now, considering the current scenario we have here, so we continue to wait for what participants is going to be doing within this channel. Are we going to be having selling pressure from this area one more time to push price to the downside, or are we going to be having a breakout of that structure to make an informed decision to buy the US tech? So if a breakout of the 11,500 level happens, which is likely going to happen considering the bullish momentum we've been witnessing in the last couple of weeks, well, I want us to be on standby to take advantage of this trend continuation at a retest of structure now at the lower time frame to join that rally to the upside. So that is that on the US tech. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and I will be willing to be of help in that regard. Okay. All right. What do we have here? What do we have here? Okay. All right. Okay. So in the absence of no question, I want to assume that we all understand what I've just explained. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is the Euro USD. Now, on the Euro USD, what is happening on the higher time frame? How well, look at the structure we have on the higher time frame here. We can see that price has been on a long-term bearish momentum since the beginning of the year, and I was able to identify this bearish trend line. In fact, I have two trend lines here. I have the major trend line, which has been holding price action since last year. That's a thick black line on your screen, which after connecting the series of lower highs there, I was able to identify that major trend line. Now, the second trend line is more or less a temporary one, which has been holding price action since the beginning of this year. And you can see how this level has been holding selling pressure, thereby navigating price to the downside. And though during the course of last week trading session, we saw this breakout of that trend line. So one thing we want to be looking at for at the New York session today is to see if this breakout is a real breakout or a false breakout. Now, before I go into that detail, I want to share with you the current structure here, which is more or less in an equilibrium state, and that is the structure around the $1 mark area. We can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action in the past. If we go to as far as the month of July, we saw how this level was a buying niche for participants in this market. Fast forward into the later part of the month of August stroke the early days of the month of September, we saw how this level was a buying niche but was met with strong resistance from the sellers here, pushing price right below that structure during the later part of the month of September. And since on the 28th of September, price has been trading right below the $1 mark, emphasizing how strong the sellers are at this point in the market. And if we look at what has been happening since the later part of September here, though we had selling pressure pushing price right from the $1 mark to the downside, and if we look at it closely, we can see that the selling pressure continued to reduce, as you can see here. Hold on a second, so the selling pressure continue to reduce gradually with time, and this is more or less a sign that we might be having bullish momentum coming in at this point. And look at the structure here. We can see we had higher lows as a result of this, and that led us into connecting the series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bullish trend line. And this bullish trend line has been guiding buying pressure since the later part of the month of September, and finally led into the breakout of both the bearish trend line here and the key level at the $1 mark. And from a technical standpoint like this, whenever we have a breakout of a structure, we expect that one point in time price is likely going to come back to do a retest of the structure that was broken. So we had the bearish trend line broken, price has come back to do a retest of that structure, which also lines up with the buy zone we identified here on the daily time frame. And what we want to be looking forward to is this. Since we had this impulsive move that led to the breakout, we want to see a retracement phase. Let's see how this retracement phase is going to end. And the only way we can know this retracement phase has ended is when we start citing buying pressure on lower time frame. Then we could be thinking of taking advantage of a bullish momentum. And if this continues to the upside and a breakout of the $1 mark happens, retest of structure should be giving us further confirmation to add more position to our existing trade, and our take profit target will just fall right along the bearish trend line, the major bearish trend line we identified earlier, right within the 1.0200 and the 1.0400 level. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to from an holistic perspective. So now, how do we intend to trade the Euro USD for today, and what has been our plan since the beginning of the week as well? So in order to do that, we'll scale down to the lower time frame, that is the 1 hour time frame, and let's see what is going on right now. So at the beginning of the week, we saw a situation where price was caught within a channel, right within the 0.99650 level, that is somewhere around here, and then the 0.99450 level. So we saw price was caught within a channel, emphasizing the indecision at the market right now. So at that point in time, participants in this market were quite indecisive of what next to do, and therefore we're waiting for a catalyst that will signal where price action will be moving. So what we did yesterday was that we looked out for either a breakout or breakdown of a structure, and the later was what happened as we saw the breakdown of that structure at the 0.99450, retest of structure therein, and we joined the decline to the downside around that area. And remember what I told you yesterday on the EURUSD. I said something about being the fact that we are within a very strong buy zone that we identified on the daily time frame. So as soon as price moves in our direction, we want to continue to move our stop loss accordingly to protect our position against any sudden pullback, which is likely going to be happening on the EURUSD, considering the structure we identified earlier. Remember, let me show you one more time so we can see what I'm talking about. So we saw this impulsive move that started a couple of weeks ago, pushing price into the 1.00950, breaking out of that significant key level at the $1 mark. And what we want to be seeing, we want to see this bearish momentum as a retracement of that impulse leg. But how far this retracement phase is going to go is what we don't know. But the only way we will know that this retracement phase has ended is when we start sighting buying pressure within the buy zone area here. Then we want to be looking to take advantage of this potential second wave of that bullish momentum that started a couple of weeks ago. So we are at a very critical point at this point in time. Though we took advantage of that bearish momentum at the beginning of the week, we locked in some profit and we were actually taken out of our position as price has come right back to the support level of the channel that was holding price action at the beginning of the week. So right now, what are we going to be doing to take advantage of any trading opportunity on the EURUSD? First of all, let me delete all this so that we can have a clear chart at this point. And now, another thing I want to show you here is what has been happening around the 0.9800 level. As we can see, we saw buying pressure around this level, which is within the buy zone we identify, which is also a very good sign that we might be having a bullish momentum going forward from this level. So what I'm going to be looking forward to at this point, considering the fact that we are within the buy zone we identified on the daily time frame, I want to be looking forward to buy an opportunity here on the EURUSD. So as long as price remains above the 0.99200 level, I want to be looking forward to buy an opportunity on this one. And if price comes back to break down that structure, well, I want to be very careful to join the sell momentum, as I want to be seeing something like this breakdown, then price coming back to do a retest of structure followed by selling pressure here to join that decline to the downside. And that is how I want to be selling this. That is, price comes back down below that level. But as long as price remains above the 0.99200 level, I want to be looking forward to buy an opportunity. And the current structure we have here is tending towards a bullish momentum at this point, considering that buy zone we identified earlier. So the next thing I want to be doing here is to identify a structure which will make our job easier to identify trading opportunities during the New York session today. So I'll be bringing out my line chart at this point, and then we want to be connecting the series of lower highs here. We have a bearish trend line here which appears to have been broken during the early hours of today. So I want to be seeing this as my yardstick for buying opportunity for the New York session today. So we have the scenario here, and so we already have a breakout of this trend line, which also lines up with the break above of the 0.99200 level, which is also my yardstick for buying opportunity. So I want to be looking to buy the EURUSD right above this level. And like I told you, take profit target on a long-term perspective falls at the bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame, which is more or less a is a very long one. So let's just place it right around this level, that is the 1.0100 level. Let me shift this out a little bit. So that is, we have a structure here. We have a structure here which has been a selling niche for participants in this market. That's around the 1.0100 level. So let's have our take profit target around that area. And if price continue to rise to the upside, we want to see how price is going to relate to that structure here at the 1.0010 level. So if we have multiple rejection of that level, then we want to be thinking of selling again to the downside. And if a breakout of that structure happens and then retest happens, then we want to be adding more position to our existing trade on the Euro USD. So this is how I want to be looking at the Euro USD going into the New York session today. So if you have any questions regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section of this video. Then another thing I want to tell you here is that the setup we are having here on the Euro USD has a tendency of giving us multiple entries at this point, as we have multiple structures around this level. So we have one at the 0.99650, which has been the highest point price has been at the beginning of, since the beginning of this week. So this is the highest point price has been at the beginning of the week. So if we have a breakout of that structure as well and retest with buying pressure on lower time frame, we want to join, add more position to this trade. And if a breakout of this important $1 mark happens, retest to structure, we want to be adding another position to this trade. And if a final breakout of the 1.0100 level happens, a retest of structure should also give us another opportunity to add more position to the existing trade on the Euro USD. So we can see that we have quite a lot of possible situation that's going to be giving us multiple entry on the Euro USD. So let's get ourselves prepared to take advantage of this move as price action unfold before our eyes. Then another thing I want to share with you here is on the economic calendar. We have a major event coming up today in, I think, in the next 2 hours. We have the ISM manufacturing PMI for the month of October, and this is coming up in 2 hours time. So we want to get ourselves prepared. We don't know how this event is going to affect the market, but we already have a structure we are looking forward to. And if it affects the market, then definitely the move is going to be very significant. So let's get ourselves prepared, and I wish you best of luck on the Euro USD. So if you have any question whatsoever, feel free to drop it in the comment section, and let me see how I can be of help in that regard. And let's see what's happening. Good morning. I don't understand much in Italian. Okay, sorry about that. All right. Okay, in the absence of no question, let's move on to the next pair. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is the GBPUSD, and on the GBPUSD, I personally have a very I have a roller coaster of events on the GBPUSD anyway, but let's quickly run through our holistic perspective on what I was actually looking at the beginning of the week. Well, if we look at the daily time frame here, we can see that price has been on a downtrend since the beginning of the year, and as a result of this, I was able to connect a series of lower highs here to give us that resultant bearish trend line, which has been guiding certain momentum since the beginning of the year. And if you look closely into the current structure here, we can see that as soon as price tested that trend line again here during the later part of last trading session, we started seeing selling pressure at this point. So we have two scenarios we want to be looking forward to on the GBPUSD, and that is this going to turn out to be a reversal pattern that is going to send price crashing to the downside, breaking out this bullish trend line to send price crashing to the downside, or are we going to be having a situation where price will break out of that bearish trend line to incite a trend continuation to the upside? So these are the things we are going to be looking at during the on the lower time frame. But before we go into the, I need to show you a very important structure which I think I showed you last week, and that is the 1.1400 level. This is a very major significant structure that has been holding price action in the last couple of months. Now, if we go to as far back as the month of September, we look at how the 1.1400 level has been holding buying pressure. So throughout the month of September, we saw buying pressure from this level before we witnessed the significant breakdown of that structure to push price to, uh-oh, my mouse just went out of the screen. Okay, sorry. All right, so we have this. Let me go back to. Okay, so we had the breakdown of the structure. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of that structure, which is exactly what happened. And you can see vividly that this 1.1400 level has been holding selling pressure since the month of September. It happened again in the month of October, at the first few days of the month of October. And a couple of weeks ago, we saw another multiple rejection of that level, giving us a clue of how strong the sellers are in this market. Though we identified that we have been finding higher lows here and we had this bullish trend line, but we were very mindful of taking advantage of any bullish momentum, considering the strong selling niche that has been identified here at the 1.1400 level. So what I said there is that even though we are seeing buying pressure here, we want to see a significant breakout of the 1.1400 level to give us a bullish signal to take advantage of to insight that we might be having a trend continuation to the upside. And that will only happen if we see a breakdown, breakout, retest to structure lining up exactly with that bullish trend line to join the trend continuation to the upside. So this is what we actually were looking forward to, and lo and behold, we saw the breakout of the 1.14 during the course of last trading session, though we took advantage of this move right into the 1.16500 level, and since then we have been witnessing selling pressure right around that bearish trend line, which as soon as price got into the 1.16500 area. So in that regard, what it did next was that we saw that price was caught within a channel here between the 1.16500 area and the 1.15500 level. And then we saw the breakdown of that channel. And one thing I'm thinking here was that since we had the breakdown of this channel, this is more or less a sign that we might be going through a retracement of that previous impulse leg. Probably price will be coming back into the 1.14 area, where we will start seeing buying pressure from this level to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. So that's what my thought initially at the beginning of the week. And you remember, if we look at it from a technical standpoint, when we cite a breakout of a structure, we expect that price is likely going to come back to do a retest of that structure before we start seeing structures that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. So with the breakdown of this structure, with the breakdown of this channel happening, and price is right back at the support level of that channel, are we going to be seeing a situation where selling pressure will take over this market from here to push price? Sorry, we're going to see selling pressure from here. What's happening? Okay, so are we going to be seeing selling pressure from here, which also lines up right below the bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame to send price right back into this 1.14 area? Or are we going to be seeing a breakdown retest of the structure to send price crashing to the downside? So these are the scenarios we need to be looking at on the lower time frame. So we want to scale down to a 1 hour time frame. Let's see how participants in this market has been relating to the current structure here since the beginning of the week. Then we will be using the structures there. We'll be able to identify on the 1 hour time frame to identify trading opportunities for the New York session today. So when we scale down to the 1 hour time frame, what is the structure I was able to observe here? Now, scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, the first thing I observed here was that we saw the breakdown of the structure. So I took advantage of this move yesterday. After the breakdown of that channel happened, let me delete all this so that we can have a clean chart. Hold on a second. I want to let me put this out here. So let's have a clean chart. I hope this is clear enough for everyone to understand what I'm trying to explain here. So we have this. So like I told you, on the 4 hours time frame, we saw that price was caught within a channel. We saw the breakdown of the channel, which I took advantage of this move right into the 1.14650 level before we started seeing buying pressure from that level. So we saw multiple rejection of the buyers here. I think for like 7 to 8 hours, we've been witnessing buying pressure around that area to signal that there is a likelihood that a bullish momentum could be coming in. But we can't just jump into a conclusion that the bullish momentum is coming in at this point, because of the fact that we've been seeing selling pressure right around the bearish trend line on the daily time frame, breaking down the 1.15500 level, and price is right back at that structure. So there is a likelihood that this retest to structure could send another wave of bearish momentum. So we need to be very, very mindful at this point in the market. So at this point, I will be advising that we remain patient. And one thing I will be stating here is this 1.1400 level, level, which is a very important level I showed you on the daily time frame. From a technical standpoint, I'm expecting that price will come back into the 1.1400 level before we start seeing a bullish momentum to the upside. But it's not all the time price action does this. So we need to understand what is really going on in this market. Then we want to be deciding based on the structure we have here. So if I bring out my line chart here to identify this structure here, so I have a structure around here, which is a bearish trend line. And this is going to make our job easier during the New York session today. So I have a bearish trend line here, which has been respected since last week. So let me show you what I mean. So we can see price comes here, it respects this trend line multiple times. Though we had a breakout here, price came back immediately to come below that structure, and right now we are around that level. So now with the current structure we have here, we have two scenarios to look out for. The first one is if we start seeing certain pressure, which we already noticing already here, then we want to be looking to join the trend continuation to the downside. We could have our take profit target as far as, remember we have a buy zone here, and if price comes within the 1.14 area, we want to move our stop loss to protect our position or lock in some profit, because we don't want to see how price is going to relate to the structure. It could turn out to be buying pressure here to inside the second wave of that bullish momentum, or we could have a breakdown of the structure, after which a retest will be giving us another opportunity to add more position to our sell position. So that is one scenario we are looking forward to at this point. Then the second scenario I want to be looking at is a significant breakout of this bearish trend line. So I want to see a significant breakout of this bearish trend line. That is an engulfing candle closing well far away above that structure to give me a signal that we are going to be having a bullish momentum. However, it is important I state here that we want to be patient to see if this is truly a true breakout or a false one. So in order to have a better understanding if this is truly a false one or a true one, we are going to be patient enough to wait for price action to come back and do a retest of that structure, or probably 1.15500 level, followed by buying pressure on lower time frame. Then we could join the trend continuation to the upside. And if a breakout of the 1.16500 level happens, then we are welcome to add more position at a retest of the structure to the upside. So that is that on the GBPUSD. So let's see how this plays out in the New York session today. Well, before I close up on the GBPUSD, let's quickly look at what is really happening around this bearish trend line, which also lines up with the support level of the channel that price action has been caught within since the later part of last week. So let's see what is happening here, if we could actually take advantage of either a bullish or a bearish momentum. Let's see if it's a reversal pattern or a trend continuation pattern. So scaling down to the 15 minutes time frame, what can we find here? So on the 15 minutes time frame, we can see that price has rejected that level multiple times, looking more like a triple top structure. So if we have a triple top structure, we expect a breakdown retest of structure to join that decline. So we have to see something like this to join the decline to the downside. So we're going to be waiting for a signal, and if we are going to be waiting for a signal, let's see if we can find a structure that will be serving as a neckline to so we have something here, so somewhere around the 1.15300 area. So let me label this level for the sake of clarity. So we have the 1.15300 level. Let me just place it right at the bottom of this, and let's have this. So go back to our candle chart. So if we have a situation where price comes back and break down that structure, then a retest of the structure on lower time frame here followed by selling pressure right below the 1.15300 level should give us an opportunity to join the decline. And if a breakdown of the 14650 happens, retest to structure should give us further confirmation to add more position to this trade. However, if a breakout of that 1.15500 level happens, that is, price breaks out of the structure, retest, then we want to be buying at the site of a buying pressure on our lower time frame. So this is how we want to be trading the GBPUSD for today. If you have any question, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section. I hope who was that anyway? Steamroller is in the house, and I hope you had my explanation on GBPUSD. So if you have any questions, let me know what you think. And Scott Benji, good morning. How are you doing today? Happy new month to you. All right. Okay, you are welcome, Steamroller. All right, so let's move on to the next pair. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is the, let me see. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is, let me see. Okay, so we are going to be looking at the USDJPY, right? Is it? Okay. I've done the EURUSD. Okay, let's quickly run through the gold. And on the gold, we have, I already have a situation running on the gold already. And I am currently in about how many pips in profit at this point? So we are in about 650 pips in profit right now on the XAUUSD. And how did we get to this point in the market? So if you remember yesterday when we were talking about the XAUUSD, we actually joined a bearish momentum. Remember at the beginning of the week, we joined a bearish momentum after citing a consolidation phase right above the $1,640 level at the beginning of the week. And one thing I said here was that we will be waiting for a signal to happen in the form of a breakout or a breakdown of that structure. Now look at what happened here during the New York session yesterday. We saw the breakdown and multiple retests of this level to send price crashing to the downside, and price moved about how many pips in profit? Over 800 pips in profit in our favor before we started seeing price climb right back into our entry zone, taking us out of our position. And remember what I told you yesterday, that as soon as price moves in our direction, that is the sell momentum, we want to be moving our stop loss to lock in some profit at that point. And fortunately for us, we moved our stop loss and price has taken us out of our position with a little profit. However, in the last 24 hours, something interesting happened on this pair. There was a very sharp turn to how price started the week. We saw price come back into our entry zone, breaking out of that channel that it was caught within since the beginning of the week. Remember, it was caught within this channel since the beginning of the week. So at this morning, we saw the final breakout of that channel to signal that there is going to be a momentum shift at this point. So a retest of that structure gave us the leverage to join that rally to the upside. And if you are part of those who took advantage of this move, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. And if you remember vividly what I explained yesterday on the XAUUSD, I was able to play out these two scenarios, and I said this channel is going to be our yardstick for trading opportunities for this week, as if price trades below that channel, we'll continue to look forward to selling opportunity, and if price breaks out of the channel to the upside, we continue to look for buying opportunity. And if you remember how I made emphasis on how the $1,640 level has been a buying niche for us during the course of last week trading session. Remember, we took advantage of this move. I think we took about 3,000 pips on this move last week, and then price came back into the structure. So what I want to be seeing here is that the breakdown of the $1,640 level here appears to be a false breakout. So take out all the sellers, all those who are trying to sell the XAUUSD in this market. So we have a situation right now that price has climbed right back above the $1,645 level. So we continue to look forward to buying opportunity as long as price remains above the $1,645 level. So that is the scenario we have here on the XAUUSD. And for those who missed out on this opportunity we took advantage of yesterday, that is those who missed out on the opportunity that we took advantage of yesterday, how do we intend to join this rally if the market continues to the upside. Well, one thing I'll be saying here is that we want to be mindful of what is happening here, considering the fact that we are on a long-term bearish momentum on the XAUUSD. First of all, let's scale up to the daily time frame so that I can show you what I'm talking about here. So on the daily time frame, we can see how we've been on a bearish momentum since the beginning of the year. Let me use my other chart here so that we can that one is more detailed. So on the daily time frame, we can see that we have been on a, hold on a second, let me delete all this one so that we can. So if we look at the structure here on the daily time frame, we can see that we have been on a strong bearish momentum since the beginning of the year, as price action has continued to find a uniform lower lows and lower highs. However, if we move into the month of September, we saw that every attempt by the sellers to continue to push price to the downside has been met with strong resistance from the buyers around the $1,620 mark here. So we saw the first one in the month of September and another one during the later part of the month of October, as we saw another buying pressure from that level to emphasize the strength of the sellers right above the $1,620 level. So we had price come back here, sellers coming again to push price right below that bearish trend line. But one thing for sure we need to take into consideration is this impulsive move that took price right out of that demand zone. And if we take that into consideration, using our Fibonacci retracement to run out this impulsive move, then somewhere within the 50 and the 78.6% area looks more promising to be buying the XAUUSD. So we have a situation here. Let me label this area. So we have the buy zone. We have a buy zone here. Let me place it in the center, inside, and let's give it a yellow color. So we have a buy zone here, and what we have been seeing in the last 4 hours now, as we can see, we've been seeing buying pressure from that level. So it's more or less a sign that we might be going to another wave of a bullish momentum. But one thing we're going to be doing here is to be placing our take profit target somewhere around the bearish trend line here. No, sorry, around the $1,680 level. And as soon as price comes within this bearish trend line, we want to move our stop loss to break even or lock in some profit, as we want to see our participants in this market will be relating to this bearish trend line. Are we going to be having a reversal pattern that will send price to the downside? Or are we going to be having a breakout of structure, retest that will be welcoming addition to our existing trade on the XAUUSD? So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is happening there and how we took advantage of that move. And let's see if the market is going to be presenting us with another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So with the current structure we have here, we can see that price is trading right above the $1,645 level. And in fact, we've been having engulfing candle in the last 4 hours. So one thing I'll be saying here for those who missed out on this opportunity is to wait for price action to give us a form of retest to structure at the 1,645 Japanese dollar level, after which we look out for buying pressure on lower time frame, then we could actually join the trend continuation to the upside. So this is the scenario I'll be looking forward to during the New York session today. And what if price does not come back into the 1,645 dollar level? Well, let's see if we have another structure ahead of us. And if we look closely, we can see that we have something around the 1,645 $655 level here, which I will be giving a purple color. So we have somewhere around there. So if price breaks above the structure, a retest of that structure followed by buying pressure, then we want to be adding more position or joining that trade. So our take profit target remains around the $1,680 level. Let me relabel this. I think this was a typographical error. So we have the $1,680 level. So what I said here is that as soon as price gets into the bearish trend line here, we want to be moving our stop loss to lock in some profit somewhere below the $1,655 level. Seems most appropriate at this point. And let's see how participants in this market will be relating to the structure. Are we going to be having a reversal pattern sending price to the downside, or are we going to be having a breakout of structure to send price climbing to the upside on this one? So that is that on the XAUUSD. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section of this video. Then we are moving on to talk about the USDJPY, which is going to be the last pair I'm going to be talking about today. And remember, we took advantage of a bullish momentum as at yesterday on the USDJPY after citing this breakout of this reversal pattern we saw here on the 1 hour time frame. So we saw this reversal pattern, we saw the breakout of the structure, and since then price has continued to climb to the upside. And at the beginning of the week, we saw our price was caught within a consolidation phase right within the 147.800 area and the 147.400 area, after which a breakout of that structure, retest of the structure, gave us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside, and price actually moved about 100 pips in our favor before we started seeing that bearish momentum that's taking price right back down into the neckline area. So now with the current structure we have here, what is going to be our view going forward? So we already taken out of this position as at yesterday, as price came right down with about, I think, about 50 pips or 60 pips there about, which is not bad. It's better than nothing. And we have the scenario here, and I would like to delete this one as this is no longer relevant. So I would like to delete this one as well. So we have this channel. So this neckline is still very important here. And from a technical standpoint, as always, whenever we cite a breakout of a structure, like the neckline of this reversal pattern here, we expect that there is a likelihood that price might come back to do a retest to structure, see buying pressure around this area to join the second wave of that bullish momentum. So let's see what is going to happen here during the New York session today. Let's see how participants in this market is going to relate with the price at the 147 Japanese yen level. Let's see if we are going to be having multiple buying pressure from this level to send another wave of a bullish momentum going forward. So at this point, I would like to say that we should remain patient. Let's wait for that structure to happen. And I think that is what I'll be able to say for now. And let's see what happens in the next 24 hours. By tomorrow, we shall be coming back here to give you an update on how what has happened so far. So if we see reversal pattern here lining up right above the neckline area, then we want to be joining a trend continuation to the upside with a take profit target using the previous impulse leg here, extending into the future and aiming at somewhere within the 127.2 and the 1414 area. So we should be having our take profit target at somewhere around the 150 Japanese yen level and 150.5 Japanese yen level. So let's see how this is going to play out during the New York session today, and let's get ourselves prepared for that move. So if a move happens in such a way that we start seeing a bullish momentum to the upside, and as soon as price comes back into this bearish trend line, remember this bearish trend line has been respected since the later part of last week. So if price comes here, we want to move our stop loss to lock in some profit, and let's see how price relates to that structure. We could have a situation where price retest it and come right back, and if a breakout of the structure happens, retest of structure welcomes addition to the existing trade. So that is that on the USDJPY. I hope I made myself clear, and at this note I want to call it a day. But before I do, let's quickly run through, do a quick recap of what we talked about today, and let's give those who missed out of the beginning of the session so that they can have a view of what we are talking about here. Innocent babe, you are welcome. All right. Okay, so let's quickly look at what we've been expecting on the pairs we talked about today. So on the US oil, we are still very profitable on the US oil. We are running with about how many pips in profit right now? We are running with about 135 pips in profit. So we are profitable here. So let's hold on to our position, move our stop loss to lock in some profit here, and let's see what happens from here on. And one thing I said here also is that for those who missed out on the opportunity we took advantage of yesterday, let's see if price is going to break out of the $88 level. And if a breakout of the $88 level happens, a retest to structure with buying pressure on lower time frames should give us a confirmation to add more position to our existing trade. So that is that on the US oil. Then we went on to talk about the EURUSD, where we started seeing a situation that looks like there is buying pressure coming in at this point after enjoying this bearish momentum to the downside yesterday. Remember, we took advantage of this bearish momentum after the breakdown retest of the structure right into this area before we started witnessing buying pressure from this level, excuse me, to push price to the upside. So one thing I said here is that we want to be patient enough to see how price action is going to be relating to this current structure that we have here. And I said if price continues to trade above the 0.99200 level, we want to be comfortable in our buy position. So we have tendencies of multiple entries on the Euro USD. If price continues to the upside, we see a breakout over the 0.99650, retest of structure, add position, a breakout of the $1 mark, retest of position, add more position to your existing trade on the Euro USD. So as long as price remain above the 0.99200, we continue to look forward to buying opportunity on the Euro USD. Then we went on to talk about the GBPUSD, where we are also at a very critical point after taking advantage of this bearish momentum that we took right below the 1.15800 level, over 100 pips before we started seeing this bullish momentum. So to make our job easier during the New York session today, I was able to identify this bearish trend line, and we shall be using this trend line as our yardstick for trading opportunity. And if you look closely, we can see that this trend line also lines up with the support level of the channel we identified earlier at the 1.15500 level. So what we are saying here is that we want to be patient enough to see what happens around this area. Are we going to be having a trend continuation pattern to the upside or a reversal pattern? So if a trend continuation to the upside is going to be happening, let me scale down to the 15 minutes time frame. I think I showed you that on the 15 minutes time frame. So I said if we have a breakout of the 1.11500 level, this level here, then a retest of structure, retest of this level or this trend line or this 1.15300 level followed by buying pressure should incite a trend continuation to the upside. However, if price decides to break below the 1.1530 level, followed by selling pressure right below this bearish trend line and this level at the 1.15300 level, then we want to be looking for selling opportunities to join the decline to the downside. And if the selling opportunity happens and we join the decline, please move your stop loss accordingly to protect your position, as there is a likelihood that price might buyers might come in the market at any point in time. So we are more or less joining the retracement phase of that impulsive move. It's a counter trend opportunity we are taking advantage of at the moment. Remember, we had this impulsive leg. Let me show you in a minute. So remember, we had this impulsive leg that broke out of the important 1.14 area, and this bearish momentum here is more or less like a retracement of that phase where we are expecting the second wave of that bullish momentum. So if we are joining the sell momentum here, please ensure you move your stop loss accordingly to lock your profit, lock your position, so that you don't get caught up in any sudden pullback that might be happening at this point. Then we went on to talk about the XAUUSD, where I told you we already taken advantage of a buy opportunity right above the $1,645 level. And I have said that for those who missed out on this opportunity here, let's be patient to see if the market is going to be giving us a second chance. And to give us a second chance, we have two scenarios. The first one is a possible retest of structure, that is retest of the 1,645 Japanese yen level. Why do I keep saying Japanese yen? $1,645 level to push price to the upside. And if a breakout of the 1,655 happens, then we want to be seeing another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. Take profit target remains at the $1,680 mark. And one thing I said here, there is a catch here. I said as soon as price gets into this bearish trend line, we want to be moving our stop loss to lock in some profit, as we want to see our participants in this market will be relating to that structure. Now we went on to close the day with the USDJPY, which as we saw bearish momentum that took us out of our buy position yesterday. We enjoyed this move to the upside, about 100 pips move to the upside before we started seeing this bearish momentum here, which broke down that bearish trend line to the downside. So what we are looking forward to at this point, following the breakout of that reversal pattern here, we have a neckline at the 147 Japanese yen level. So we had the breakout of that structure, and from a technical standpoint, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of that structure with an intention of inciting the second wave of that bullish momentum. So let's see what is going to be happening during the New York session today around the neckline area which is around the 147 Japanese yen level. So what we want to be seeing here is more or less a buying pressure, reversal pattern, double bottom structure, inverse head and shoulder pattern, whatever it is that shows up, then we want to be joining the rally to the upside from that level. But if a breakdown of that level happens, well, I want to be advising us to stay clear of this trade and wait to see how this bearish momentum is going to run. So for me on this one, I'm not going to be talking about the bearish momentum here. We'll just wait for price action to run out, and let's see how we can take advantage of any other momentum that is contrary to this buy opportunity that we just identified here. So on this note, I want to wish you best of luck today. It has been a wonderful moment being with you guys, and like I used to say, I advise that you always be on standby so that you can take advantage of whatever momentum price action is giving us. And throughout the course of the session today, we were able to look at all the possible scenarios that is likely going to be happening during the New York session today. So we're able to play them out so that we don't get caught up in any dilemma when we finally, when this position finally come into play. And also, you also want to remember not to be too excited when we cite a signal that is a breakout of a structure or a breakdown of a structure. We want to wait for price action to give us further confirmation, which is likely going to come in the form of a retest of that structure before we want to be joining the potential rally or decline. And if we don't have a retest of structure, that is, there is no confirmation, well, I would advise us to pass the trade. There's a lot of opportunities in the financial market that we could take advantage of. So on this note, I wish you best of luck during the New York session today, and I look forward to seeing you same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, same place, Extreme Speed Live. Let's come here again to evaluate what we have discussed so far and how well the pairs we have executed are doing, and then let's plan against the New York session for tomorrow. Once again, happy new month and do have a wonderful day. Bye bye.